Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. This is your guest host, Big Easy, filling in for Jim. We're going to continue our preseason baseball talk breakdown. We only got one division left, the NL Central, the division our home team sits in. We're going to start off with the lesser teams we feel in the division, especially the Milwaukee Brewers. And we have our senior baseball analysts, J-Dash and JK47 here, that are going to break these teams down and fill you in and let you know all you need to know about these teams. Milwaukee, we're picking them in 5th place, right?
Well, I'm going to. It's up to you to decide where you want to pick them. Personally,
persuade me. What do you got over there?
Well, I mean, they're looking at the future as well, like some of these other teams we were talking about, like the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies. They're looking more towards the future. A couple of signings they made. Third baseman Will Middlebrooks. This was a guy that had pretty good power coming up in the Boston system. They gave him a chance. He strikes out way too much. His average is way too low. They don't know if he's going to be able to ever become a starter in the big leagues or not. But this is a good team to give him a chance, see if he can resurrect his career here in a nice ballpark for hitters as well. So we'll have to see about Will Middlebrooks. He is a guy I like, but there's still a lot of questions of whether or not he can stick in the bigs. They signed first baseman Chris Carter. We know this is a big bat, a big power hitter. He strikes out a ton as well. He never gives you a good average or anything. They signed outfielder Eric Young Jr., pitcher Chris Capuano. They signed a couple relief pitchers here, Blaine Boyer to a minor league deal and Franklin Morales to a minor league deal as well. We'll see if one of those two make the team or both. They claim Kirk Neuenhuis off of waivers. This guy might actually start for them. We'll have to see. I mean, their lineup doesn't look very good to me at all. They made a couple trades here. They traded for third base prospect Garen Cecchini from the Boston Red Sox. This guy put up some decent numbers in the minor leagues. Not a ton of power or anything, but always a good hitter. Give you a little bit of pop. You know, he's just a pretty good player. Bring him over. All they gave up for him was cash consideration. So, I mean, I really like this move, and maybe he can turn out to be their future third baseman. They traded for shortstop Jonathan Villar from the Houston Astros. Didn't give up much for him, and this guy should be starting for them at shortstop to begin the season before one of their top prospects, Orlando Arcia, gets called up. A couple other trades they made. They traded for second baseman Aaron Hill. He'll actually be playing third base most likely for him because they got Scooter Gennett at second base. But they brought over Chase Anderson in the deal and shortstop Isan Diaz. This is a prospect that has some pretty nice upside as well. So they gave up Gene Segura for all that. Now, they brought over a guy that can fill in this season in Aaron Hill. Chase Anderson has showed he can pitch at the back end of a rotation. He's a pretty good number 4 or 5 pitcher. Maybe he has a little bit more upside than that. Maybe he can be a number 3 one day. And Isan Diaz looks like a pretty good prospect, like I was saying. So, Gene Segura, a guy that had a big season for Milwaukee his rookie year, and then really has never produced the same results following that over the past couple of years. So send him to Arizona, bring in a couple young players here in Chase Anderson and Diaz, like I was saying, and a veteran in Aaron Hill to fill out the lineup today. So I like that move. They traded for outfielder Reimer Liriano from San Diego as well. Gave up Trevor Seidenberger for him, not much, but Reimer Liriano, he was a top prospect in the San Diego organization. This guy has a pretty decent bat, but he Ks way too much, so I'm saying his average is going to be low in the bigs most likely. But he also got hit by a pitch in the face, and I think he broke some bones in his face or something, so it looks like he's going to be out a while. They traded for prospect catcher Jake Nottingham and prospect pitcher Bubba Derby. They gave up Chris Davis for them, actually, though. I mean, Jacob Nottingham, he's a decent prospect. Bubba Derby, we'll have to see or whatever, but they did give up a power bat, a starting outfielder for these guys, so I think they kind of gave up maybe a little bit too much for him. I think Oakland made a very good deal in bringing in Chris Davis to play in the outfield out there, so I really don't like that deal as much, but another deal, I kind of like both sides of this deal. They traded for Keon Broxton and Trey Supak from the Pittsburgh Pirates and sent Jason Rogers to the Pirates. Now, Rogers is somewhat of an older guy, and he's still, I guess you consider him a prospect. He really hasn't had too much MLB experience, but the guy can hit. And like I said, Milwaukee's trying to rebuild. So Rogers, an older guy, they bring in Keon Broxton. This guy's probably going to be their fourth outfielder this season. He has some speed. He can hit all right as well. I like this guy coming up through the Pirates system. And I mean, I see why the Pirates got rid of him, too, because they're stacked in the outfield in the minor leagues and the major leagues, and they need a first baseman, and Jason Rogers could be that guy. We'll have to see. But I like this deal on both sides. They also got rid of Adam Lean as well. That was for 3 prospects as well. So, I mean, that deal was just to pretty much get rid of Adam Lean, bring in a couple prospects, and see if one of them turn out for the future or anything. Because Adam Lean, I mean, he's not really going to help them this season. Remaining unsigned, starting pitcher Kyle Loesch.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be getting signed anytime soon.
No, I don't think so either. But that's it. They made a lot of moves this offseason. They're trying to rebuild, and then you look at the lineup here, and it doesn't look very good. In left field, you got Ryan Braun. Like I said, they signed Kirk Neuenhuis off of waivers. He may be starting in center field. Dominguez Santana, this was a guy that was in Houston's system. He has a pretty decent bat as well. Strikes out a little bit too much, though. We'll have to see if he can turn into an everyday starter or not. And like I said, they brought in Reimer Liriano. He got hit in the face, and he's going to be out a while. They were counting on him to maybe see some time this season in the outfield. Keon Broxton, like I mentioned, he might be their 4th outfielder this season, and maybe he overtakes Kirk Neuenhuis. Who knows? Then you might as well give him a chance. It's not like Neuenhuis is going to do anything for your team. Not that he's terrible or anything. I mean, he's probably league average at best. But your outfield, it doesn't look good to me. And then on top of that, I mean, Ryan Braun, I think it's time to try to get rid of him as well. Wouldn't you say so, 47?
I mean, if you can find the right buyer, yeah, why not? But I've never really been a big Braun fan to begin with, so.
Well, he wasn't terrible last year or anything, but since he got caught doing steroids or whatever, he hasn't been the same type of player. So I think if they can just find anything for him at this point, I mean, he's not a part of their future, I wouldn't believe. I think by the time this team rebuilds and is a good team, Ryan Braun should be long gone by then. So I would look to deal him if anybody's looking for a solid outfielder that's going to give you some pop and some speed. I mean, he's still not a terrible player or anything.
Yeah, he bites just like the rest of them.
Who's better, him or Hunter Pence?
I like Hunter Pence more. I would probably say if they're both healthy, Ryan Braun's still a better player. So the outfield, it doesn't impress me very much. The infield, it's not very impressive either. Like I said, Jonathan Villar at shortstop. This is a guy that had some upside. I mean, he has some speed or whatever, had a solid bat in the minor leagues, and he showed it here and there with the Astros at one point. But I don't think he's a long-term starter or anything. And like I said, they are going to bring up Orlando Arcia at some point this season, I would have to believe. I mean, but you could leave him down all season. It's not like you're in any rush for these guys. But he hit 307 with a 347 on base with 25 stolen bases in Double-A last season. He plays Gold Glove caliber defense. Doesn't hit for power, but he's going to hit doubles, triples. Like I said, he's going to steal bases. He hits for a good average. He plays good defense. The one thing I have a question about is his on-base percentage. I mean, he doesn't take many walks, so that's going to stay a little bit low. But still, I mean, this is a leadoff type guy, and usually they don't have too high of on-base percentages because really they don't have that power that pitchers are worried about. And then you got Scooter Gennett at second base. This is a solid baseball player. He's still a young guy or whatever,
Yeah,
but I mean,
he doesn't slip in the shower.
yeah, this is really. I mean, is this their best infielder? Because you got Chris Carter at first base, like I said, you signed. Lucroy's going to play a little bit of first base, I'd have to believe, at some point this season. But Gennett, I mean, he seems like the best hitter. Carter might have the most power. Aaron Hill was at one point a better hitter than these guys. Villar, I mean, I haven't seen it from him yet. So Gennett, to me, is really their best infielder that's starting. I mean, like I said, Orlando Arcia is going to be a pretty good baseball player. And then you got Jonathan Lucroy at catcher. This guy is one of the best catchers in baseball, in my opinion, and it looks like they're trying to deal him. I mean, the Texas Rangers were actually pretty interested in this guy. I think Milwaukee's just asking a little bit too much for him right now because Jonathan Lucroy didn't have the best season last year. He had some injuries, and he didn't hit like he did in 2014. So, I mean, they're still asking top player return for Jonathan Lucroy at this point, I would have to believe. And I don't blame him either, because Lucroy's on a contract that doesn't cost a lot of money either, and he's under control for a few years. So this is going to be a cheap top-end player for someone to bring in. So I'd want a lot in return as well. And you got Martin Maldonado catching behind him when he plays first base or whatever. So the team offensively doesn't look good at all. A couple other prospects here. 2 outfielders. Brett Phillips, you may see him this season. He was acquired from the Astros in the Carlos Gomez trade. He hit .309 with a .374 on base last season between A advanced and Double-A. 16 home runs, 14 triples, and 17 stolen bases. So he gives you a pretty decent power speed combo. He took 44 walks compared to 120 strikeouts, though, so he really got to fix that a little bit before you'd believe that he's going to be a 300 hitter in the major leagues, which I really don't think he will be. But you can still expect maybe some more home runs from him. I mean, he's still only 21 years old, like I was saying, playing in Double-A, so there may be some more power in his bat still. This is a 5-tool player, but it's not a guy that's going to give you 25 seasons, I don't believe. But he looks like a pretty good player, and I'd have to believe he's going to be starting for him at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this season or late in the season, maybe September or something like that, or it's going to be next season, even September next season. I don't know. And then outfielder Michael Reed as well. This guy's 23 years old. He hit .269 with a .361 on base. Look at this. He took 73 walks, had 26 stolen bases, and 439 at-bats between Double-A and Triple-A. Like I was saying, he has great speed, and with those walks, man, I mean, that's going to keep your on-base percentage up. So this guy can be, at worst, a very good 4th outfielder, in my opinion, and a guy you can bring off the bench when you need someone on base, and he'll give you a good shot at that. So, I mean, they got a couple guys you might see this season. I mean, they have other prospects in their system. It's not like that's their best players at this point, although Brett Phillips is one of their best prospects. But they have more in their system. That's just some guys you might see this season. But right now, I mean, it's not looking good offensively. And then you go to the rotation. You got Willie Peralta, Jimmy Nelson, still a young guy that has some upside, but I was never really high on him either. Matt Garza, who I have been done with for the past 5 years now. Taylor Youngman. This is a guy with some upside as well. He's still young. I think last year might have been his debut season. I'm not sure. But he was actually one of my top 30 starting pitching prospects in the minors heading into last season.
I know.
And he looked pretty good last season, but he did fall off a little bit. But I still believe this guy can be a number 3 pitcher, I would have to say. And then you brought over Chase Anderson, a guy I believe that can stick in a good rotation at the back end of a rotation. I mean, this guy might be one of the better pitchers this year. I'm not sure. I like him better than Garza. We'll have to see about Youngman. And Jimmy Nelson as well. We'll have to see about him. He has number 2 upside, I'd say, Jimmy Nelson, but he also has number 5 downside. But Willie Peralta is your number 1. Do you like that at all, 47?
Hate it.
Hate it? So what do you think about this rotation? Is there anybody you like and like their upside?
Well, I mean, I like Nelson and I like Youngman.
Youngman.
No, he's Youngman. We'll get his name pronounced right whenever he pitches well.
All right.
But I mean, I like these 2 young guys. I think, I mean, but overall though, even if these guys end up panning out to be something significant, I mean, you're still looking at a couple of 2s, maybe 3s at best. You know, this team's lacking a true ace, and they're gonna have to go out and get it probably.
Yeah, I mean, they got a couple guys here in the minors, Josh Hader and Zach Davies. They're still young guys, 21 for Hader, 22 for Davies. They're not aces or anything either, though. We may see them this season. I'm not sure. Like I said, they're still kind of young. They could wait a year on these guys, too. But Hader, he was a part of that Gomez trade as well. He had a .303 ERA last season, 119 Ks compared to 35 walks and 104 innings. So he had a pretty good season, just 87 hits. This was in Double-A. He throws in the mid-90s as well, but they think his upside's more of a, I'd say a low-end number 2. I don't believe this guy is a number 1 pitcher. And then Zach Davies, I don't think this guy is close to being a number 1. He's more of a number 3 to number 5 in my opinion. He came over for Gerardo Parra in that trade with the Orioles. last season. He had a 3.30 ERA, 102 Ks compared to 45 walks and 128 innings in AAA last season. And he did get some time in the bigs. A 3.71 ERA, not terrible. 24 Ks compared to 15 walks, though, and 34 innings. So he's going to have to get his command a little bit more under control. His best pitch is the changeup. He doesn't throw a hard fastball. Like I said, he's probably, I'd say he's a number 5, but he has the upside of a number 3, I would say. So, I mean, really, what you're going to see this season, you're not going to see maybe Orlando Arcia and Brett Phillips. Those are probably the 2 best players you're going to see this season for the Milwaukee Brewers, and that's not going to change much. They need more than that before this team turns it around. I mean, I like their bullpen. Will Smith, Jimmy Jeffress, and Corey Nebel, I think his name is. It might be Knebel. I can't remember how they say it. But that guy actually has closer-type stuff, and he's still very young. I'd like to see him get to the back end of this bullpen, and then maybe them trade him to get some more prospects in here for if he can succeed at the closer role. But I like their bullpen. It may not be deep, but they got some good names at the back end here. You also got Tyler Thornburg in the bullpen. He's not a terrible pitcher either. But offensively, the rotation, it's not going to happen for the Brewers this season.
Nothing's going to happen right for this team this year.
And really, I mean, like I said, they're looking at the future, but the prospects in their minor league system, I'm not saying everyone's terrible or anything, but I believe the Pittsburgh Pirates still have a better system than the Milwaukee Brewers for sure in their division. I think the Reds have some better players than the Milwaukee Brewers do. Including Jesse Winker, who might get caught up this season. I don't know. I think the Milwaukee Brewers have a long way to go before they're going to start winning again.
It looks like it.
I mean, I don't know. I just look at this team, and then nothing just stands out for me.
Yeah, I mean, Lucroy, he's a great catcher. You got to give him that.
We'll see if he can come back after last year.
I mean, he still wasn't terrible last year.
Oh, no, I mean, he was hurt, and I mean...
Compared to other catchers, at least.
He struggled when he first came back, too. I mean, once he got to be playing again, I mean, he started hitting again.
I'd like to see them trade him, then, and get some more prospects in here.
But what? Pitching prospects?
Could use pitching prospects, any kind of prospects, man, outside of a shortstop, I guess, but you're not going to get that great of a shortstop for him. Well, I mean, you might be able to.
Shortstops.
Yeah, Orlando Arcia, I'd stick with him. I'd try to trade Ryan Braun as well. I mean, Aaron Hill, if he has a decent season, get him out of here at the deadline. Even Chris Carter, if he's hitting well by the trade deadline, get him out of here. Get some prospects in.
He'll hit you 20 to 30 home runs, but he's not going to hit 200, though.
Yeah, you might not hit 200. I think you're going to get nothing for Garza. I mean, Willie Peralta's still a young guy. So I don't know if he's a part of your future or not. You might want to deal him if he's having a good season. Jimmy Nelson, I'm sure that they want to keep him in their rotation long term. And Taylor Youngman, they want to keep in the rotation long term. Who knows? Maybe Chase Anderson has a decent season. They think about dealing him, but he's still a young guy too. So if he has a pretty good season, maybe they start thinking about him long term as well. I don't know. Keon Broxton, give him a shot. I wanted to see this guy play for a few years now. So what do you say, in 5th place? That's where I'm at.
Agreed. There's nothing good about this baseball team this year. They're going to struggle.
Nothing good.
No, I'm serious. There is nothing good about this team. Absolutely nothing.
Lucroy's the man.
I'll tell you what's good for the Milwaukee Brewers. They have to play the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's always a plus, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Brewers, they've done a good job against the Pirates in the past, but I'd have to believe it's going to turn around this season. It's going to change. Well, listen, the Pirates, they won a ton of games outside of division last year, and I don't see them doing that. They were something like 56-13 or some crazy number outside of the division. I think that's going to come down a little bit, but I think they're going to do a little bit better against the Reds and the Brewers this season because, I mean, really, they have nothing going for them right now. The Reds, I think, have a little bit more going for them. They still got Joey Votto out there. That's it, 5th place?
5th place, garbage.
Easy.
Yeah, a couple media outlets actually have them predicting them having a better season than Cincinnati, though. Well, 64 wins. How does that feel? How does that make you feel?
64 wins. It doesn't sound necessarily out of the question. That's 98 losses.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fine. but I think Cincinnati's going to be a little better than them. I like I at least like a couple guys in the rotation, and they still have the Joey Votto out there. I think Billy Hamilton's going to be a little bit better this season at least. I think Cincinnati got some pieces at least.
Yeah, we're a spread sweep. Milwaukee's finishing in 5th place in the NL Central. You heard it first. Baseball fans, if you want to shout out comments or let us know if we missed any of your top prospects we should be looking at, you can hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Go to YouTube, youtube.com/betthespread. You can hit Jim Selloff on Facebook because he's dying to know your baseball comments and your info. And we'll be back shortly and talk about the Cincinnati Reds. Peace.